How can you, as a well providing husband, consistently stay calm with your wife during tension? You're the man that's pouring in a lot of effort into your business and into your career, and you're doing well successfully and you're being successful in your professional life. But you're trying to figure out, how can I now handle the personal life? Because it is impacting how things are happening or what's happening in your marriage right now. And you're trying to figure out, how do I solve this permanently, right? How do I get this down pat permanently? Well, the good thing is that you're already on the path of doing this. I can tell you're trying to stay calm, you're trying to be there for her, you're trying to let her know that, hey, I am there. But it takes more than this trying. And that's why you're feeling this sense of frustration, because you're trying, you're putting in so much effort, and she's not seeing the effort that you're putting in. So, number one, the key is understanding what to do before before the actual tension hits. Right now, we're at a place where you're reacting to the tension. When something happens in her mood, when she shuts down, when she is asking you a lot of questions or pushing or challenging what you have to say, you then go and you react to what is there. So you're almost trying to perform calm. You're trying to act as though, hey, how do I stay calm after the fact, right? But the real sauce comes from, what do you do before the actual calm is there? What do you do before the storm actually hits? How do you handle yourself before you actually have to go into now reactive mode, into now trying to fix this mode, right? So the key here is this: you're working a lot of hours already. You're putting in a lot of hours professionally. You have to understand that, hey, as a man, you are different than most men. That means you have to almost turn your brain off, turn off all of your emotions to go and get the job done, right? It's what makes you successful. You can't just rely on your feelings all day. You have to go and say, hey, listen, I know I feel tired. I know I feel upset. I know I feel down, but I have to go and provide for my family. And this is one key area that I know for a fact you took a lot of pride in. But what's working for you at work, it's different when you get back home. We got to figure out, what do we do now before we head right into now the fire at home, right? How do we handle ourselves beforehand? How do we handle our emotions beforehand? So that when we come back to your wife, you're able to actually stay calm without having to perform calm. Yeah? So the first thing is first. The key lies into four letters: E, I, D, D. E, I, D, D. This right here is going to solve all of your problems. But the key here is understanding that you have to be intentional about doing this, right? Because here's the biggest thing that I hear from men like yourself. Oh, I don't have the time to be able to come and do this. I don't have the time to sit down and figure out what is happening with myself and my emotions before I go and talk to my wife. But I'll challenge you on that. You were saying that you don't have the time to do it. But I understand that now, for your point of view, you skip this step, you go right into now talking to your wife, trying to be there for her, trying to explain to her. And it turns into now a long 3-hour disagreement where you guys go back and forth. And now you're at a place now where you're saying to yourself, I wasted 3 hours of talking and nothing happened. When I come to you now and say, hey, listen, wouldn't it be better for you to be able to take 10 minutes out of your life to do this properly, to prevent a 3-hour back and forth with no one is actually heard? How much time do you think you want to put inside of this now? How much time do you want to allocate to this? Do you actually want to have more time having a healthier conversation with your wife by putting in 10 minutes into this, as opposed to just skipping this part and then going back and forth trying to get her to understand you and to see you and to hear you, and nothing ever changes? Which one do you want to do? I'm pretty sure you're a smart lady, so you know which one you want to do yourself, right? So, for you personally, the E, your first step is to understand this. I look at E as emotions. Emotions. Energy in motion. Now, what does that mean to me? Emotions are, for me, information. Emotions tell you something about what is happening in the day. Right now, for you as a man, you have to turn your brain off for your entire day. Turn off the emotions, right? Because you have to be able to Go and handle your business. Go and handle your work. Like for myself, I'm handling clients all day. I'm handling sales all day. I'm handling the back end of my business, right? I'm pouring in a lot. I don't have time to think about my emotions all day. I have to go and handle business. But that doesn't mean I have to ignore it for the rest of my life. Because when I do, it's impossible for you to stay calm, which is why we have to now check in. What is going on here in my emotions, right? Okay, today was challenging. Today was overwhelming. Figure out what was the emotion that you have. Today was, a bit frustrating. Today was a bit embarrassing. Today was, what is the emotion? Because once you have this, we can now shift into what you're good at. Logic. Turn your emotions into the I. Information. Like data. Take the data from the emotions. Go from emotional to logical. Why am I feeling this emotion? Why is this happening? Why am I feeling overwhelmed? Slow down. At work, in your business, you gotta speed up. You gotta move fast. You gotta make decisions. You gotta move. Yeah. But when you come back to this, we're slowing things all the way back down. We are returning back to calm. Yeah. What is the information from the emotions? You may have had a tough day. You may have lost a deal. You may have had to fire somebody. You may have had a difficult client, right? What is happening? Take the information from the emotion. This is crucial because now it turns into just this emotional back and forth to now logical. What is the information that I'm gathering? The way I see this as is like a check engine light on a car. Could you imagine that if you're driving your car all day, all night, and the engine is actually messed up? But then from there, nothing alerts you. What's going to happen, right? You wind up breaking down. It's impossible for the car to get fixed because we don't know what's going on. The same thing is like your emotions. Your emotions are like your check engine light that tells you that you have to get the information. What is the information? The check engine light. Something is wrong with the engine, right? You're checking in with the emotion. The emotion alerted you. You're now getting the information. Cool. Now, once you have that, you go into your next step. It's your D. D is going to be your direction. Direction. Directions, I see it as like you're plugging in the information into a GPS, Waze, Google Maps, Apple Maps, or whatever you use, right? You're plugging in the address into the Google Maps, and now it outputs for you a few different routes, a few different directions. Yeah. So now you have your information. What is the directions that you can choose? Make this actionable. Okay, I may need about a half an hour to cool down because today was one of those days where I realized that I was really suppressing my emotions because I was trying to get, this new hire to learn whatever they had to learn, and they weren't getting it right away, and it made me very overwhelmed and I feel very agitated. Right, so I need about a half an hour for myself, or you know what? I need to go and take, a shower for half an hour. Or you know what? Let me go for a walk by myself and cool down. Or you know what? Right. The key is you're getting different directions from the informations. I personally like doing three, three max. Right. We don't want to overwhelm yourself. It's three max, three different directions you can choose, right? Pick three different options. Go through your mind. What is the three things I can do right now? Make this actionable. Because now we're leaving the emotional state. We're going into now a logical state, which is what you're pretty good at in the first place, right? We're slowing things down to not speed back up again. So emotions, information, you choose your directions. Because from there, you now know as a man, your next step and your last step is going to be to make a decision. A decision. And you choose one. Choose one. Make a decision and you choose one. Why one? Because as a man, it's your job to lead. It's your job to be able to be decisive, right? It's one of your God-given traits as a man. We are going this way. Now you may have different directions, you may have different options, good, the bad, the ugly. Your job is to be able to pick one. Stand up straight, say what you gotta say, and make the decision and own it. All right. Now, this looks like it could be a long process, right? As I've told you, this takes about 10 minutes. 10 minutes of you slowing down. You come back into your home, you're walking through that front door, and you know right away, boom, let me EIDD. Or even better, if you're driving back home from work or driving back home from your business, take time in the car. Instead of avoiding it by doing things like listening to music or trying to avoid it with podcasts or even more work, stop. Because you cannot stay calm unless you know what to do before the calm, right? Whatever you do before will translate into what's going to happen afterwards. So now when I come back home and I'm seeing my wife and I'm with my idea, I say, listen, you know what? Today was one of those days. I need about a half an hour for myself to just decompress. Now, from that point, I go and do it, right? I'm not looking for validation. I'm not looking for her to give me approval. I'm going ahead and taking care of what I have to take care of so that I can show up and calm for her. Show up like that man who is steady for her. This requires intentionality for yourself. Now, again, for yourself, you're saying, I don't have time. I'm going to remind you again. Do you not have time, or are you just trying to skip over this step to go into what you're used to doing, which is trying to console her and explain your point and to fix what's going on with her? No, you have the time. Slow down. Take the time for yourself so that when you come to her, it doesn't have to be this long, drawn out back and forth agreement now, which now takes up all of your time and all of your sleep and all of your mental, right? Which makes it harder for you to now have to perform the next day for work. Yeah, 10 minutes, slow down, EIDD. Take care of this because now this is how you're able to stay calm during the tension with your wife. All right. Now, as per usual, if you want to understand more about how this actually works and how you can actually do this properly, this is exactly what I cover in my Calm Man audit. You're a different kind of man. You're the man who provides well financially. You're doing professionally already. So you need different ways of how to handle this than the most or the average man. So we go through exactly what's happening inside of your life and what's happening with you when it comes to staying calm during tension with your wife. And we understand what is the main block that you're having right now. And once we understand that, now we have a clear picture of what do we have to do moving forward to be consistent when it comes to the tension that's happening right now in your marriage. So if you want to know more about that directly, just go ahead below and press the link below. And from there, we'll give you more options about how to actually learn more about this Calm Man audit for yourself. All right. And as per usual, my name is Coach Raph, and thank you again for being here with me. And I truly hope to see you soon. All right. That's Calm.